Welcome to a bonus episode of Press Play and Run, the podcast for runners that would be brilliant at running if you just didn't need to run quite as often. What we do love to do is talk about running, so you're in the right place, and I am delighted today to be bringing you a bonus episode with Leeanne Brown from the Brooks Run Happy team. Before we get into that, I'm going to bring you up to speed as I always do with my own training for the Edinburgh Marathon. I'm in week 514 it feels like, but managed my 18.5 mile run at the weekend long run. So I'm marking my training weeks by the long run now. They live rent free in my head, but each one that passes brings me one closer to that taper. The end is starting to come into sight and it's welcome. I had a brilliant run in the Clyde Path at the weekend. That was my first really long solo run and I felt that was quite important. Just to get over the hump of knowing that on race day you might end up running for yourself for periods of time, and to just sort of tune into my own rhythm. I really enjoyed it. I had a bit, for anybody that follows me on Instagram, I had a bit of a water incident. I was running with a soft flask in my hydration vest and was about, I don't even know, not even, maybe 5 miles in, and started to feel a bit of water splashing all over the place. Looked down, I was leaking. Thought I was lactating during my run. Had to bin my water and do the rest without it. So when I got back to Newton where I was parked, emptied the shop of all fluids, but made it in one piece, overcame a bit of adversity, and see if anything, actually that just brought a wee bit more confidence to the fact that I'm in good shape. I can deal with things if they go wrong, which they may well do in the day. So we're in a good place. I've been so inspired this week on Instagram looking at all the finishers from Manchester. It just looked like such a good day. It looked like a tough run as well. And to those who finished in Boston, what a race that was. So we had a couple of people from Newton Road Runners from my club running in Boston, and they absolutely smashed their run. So congratulations, Callum and Beth. Beth achieved a championship time, qualifying a pace for London next time round, and Callum ran a sub 3, a 2:40 something, the speed of the devil. I think actually he was the only person in Boston delighted to see the rain after a Scottish winter training block. Whilst some of the pros couldn't quite take it in their stride, Callum bossed it. It's so cool to see these people that you run with on a regular basis, having had those chats with them, knowing that they've come from a place from beginning running through to what they're achieving now. It's super inspiring. So congratulations to everybody that ran Manchester. Doesn't matter if you were jogging it, running it socially like half the crew I happened to be following, or if you were out there trying to achieve PBs, whether you got it or not, you finished a marathon. It's such a huge accomplishment. Proud of you and delighted for you. Speaking of being inspired, I've got another couple of hooligans here demanding airtime because of their inspirational running at the weekend. So I am a wee bit scared and a wee bit delighted to be reintroducing Brodie and Joshua, my two boys, onto the podcast to talk about their run at the weekend. So another junior park run down, and I wasn't at that. I was actually doing my long run on the Clyde Path at the time, but I'm going to bring Brodie in first. So Brodie, talk me through, how was your run at the weekend?
I just really wanted to PB because my dad wasn't there, so I just wanted to do it just for him. So I went as fast as I could, and my sprint at the end was amazing.
And tell me about your actual time. How many seconds did you take off your PB? So junior park run's a 2k for anybody who doesn't know the format, but 2k, then the rest works the exact same as normal park run. So how many seconds did you take off your PB?
9 seconds.
9 whole seconds. Tell me about the boy that was running beside you and how that helped.
Yeah, every time I was running at my normal pace, and every time I just peeked over him, he started sprinting away from me. And then at the end, I just overtook everyone.
So, as you can see, my parenting style is not to make the boys enjoy their running, it's to beat whoever's beside them. So you can imagine my pride, but I've got one more thing, Brodie, to ask you about. Who took you?
My mum.
Your mum?
Uh-huh.
Now, what did you say the last time you were on the podcast?
She doesn't really give me support, which was true. The only reason I PB'd, which was for you.
You PB'd for me, so
yeah.
Did mum not give you support this time either?
No, all she did was, "Go, Brodie."
No, but she said she was really cheering you on and inspiring you.
No, she wasn't.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. She's claiming that she should be taking some credit for your PB.
No.
But how well is mum running just now?
Okay.
No, come on. She's doing great. You've got to give her a bit of credit. You've got to give her some credit. Come on.
Okay, then, good.
She's going to kill you, and I'm going to leave all of this bit in. But congratulations on your PB. High five. Now I'm going to bring in your brother. Move aside. Got Joshua with me. older child. So a couple of different things have happened actually since Joshua last spoke to us on here. Before you talk about junior park run, you had a wee PB before that, do you remember?
Yes, I did a 5k PB and it was amazing. I took like 2 minutes off of my time or something.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. And I just felt like I did amazing. As I was like at the end, because it was so hard to push through at the end, but I just did it and I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah, so Josh has been coming out running with me a wee bit more when I'm doing easy runs because his pace and my easy pace sort of are starting to align. So I'm starting to fear for my own times already. We ran 5k together at such a steady pace and it was getting quicker and more progressive. And yeah, 4 minutes he knocked off and ran sub 30 for 5k. So definitely an adult park run on the cards with you very, very soon. But then what did you go do on the same day your brother PB'd the junior park run?
I went and did a PB on 1 second, so I just barely did it, but I did do it.
Yeah, Josh's PB junior park run was a wee bit of a false one because he got it with me on one of his first park runs, holding my hand the first time he ever ran it. So I think I probably dragged you halfway around, but that's the first time you've ever beat that time on your own. So how much are you enjoying the running?
I'm enjoying the running so much, and it's like I'm like doing really good, I feel like. And I'm just enjoying it so much, the fact that you just get out there for fresh air.
And what did you tell me that one of your big goals are when it comes to running? You told me this last night.
Oh, I want to run a marathon.
Run a marathon and win a race?
Yeah.
Win a race. So you can tell me what that feels like. This is not the podcast for people that win races. This is for the people that watch people winning races and cheer them on. But you could maybe change that and then we'll stop you listening to the podcast forever. Mm-hmm. Thank you for coming on to talk to us about your running, and hopefully the PBs keep coming and we'll get you on. And here's a deal for you. If you and Brody PB one more time, I'll let you pick a song for the playlist.
Okay,
How's
sounds
that?
good. I'm going to push so hard next park run.
Deal?
Deal.
High five. So that's the updates from the Miller household. Sorry you have to suffer all that, folks, but if I'm going to keep pushing them to go, I have to give them the spotlight when they go and get their achievements like this. It's just so good. They were buzzing when I got back from my long run. Of course, they weren't interested in how I ran. They didn't ask me why I happened to be leaking all down my left side. They just couldn't wait to tell me about their PB. So brilliant to see. Thank you to everybody, as usual, that puts on that event at Junior Park Run and the time you give up for them. I appreciate it so much. Nicola is probably going to kill me because I'm leaving that stuff in about what they're saying about her. She is running fantastically well, chuffed to bits for her, and actually signed her up for a race against her knowledge and will. So she's doing the women's 10k on the same day I'm doing the men's 10k in Glasgow. And I want you to look out for something maybe coming in the near future, a wee bit of information about that race where we're hoping to maybe have a wee bit of a meet up for podcast listeners and grab a bite to eat after it together. So more details to follow on that when it's been fleshed out a bit. But in the meantime, I appreciate you listening. I'm going to hand over to my conversation with the fantastic Leeanne Brown, and good luck to everybody running London. I will be dot watching, I will be cheering you on from a distance, and I can't wait to hear all about it when you get back. Today, I'm joined by an everyday running hero that's in her happy place in the hills, and even happier with her fellow Brooks Run Happy teammates. This week, she's preparing to take on the London Marathon in short notice, but that's less of a problem when you've racked up 9 ultras and lift enough weights to shame Arnold Schwarzenegger. Welcome to Press, Play and Run, Leeanne Brown. Welcome, Leeanne, how are you?
I'm fine, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to say it right off the start. Leeanne is the most nervous person I've had on so far, but we've just been chatting for 10 minutes before we recorded and she was fine, so I'm sure we'll get her settled in here. I'm not that scary. But thank you so much for joining me, Leeanne. I know you have definitely been the hardest guest to obtain. When did I first ask you to do this?
Oh, I feel like it was probably about 2 months ago, maybe, was it? And you finally wore me down. Yeah,
I think I actually asked you after episode 1, and this is us going on to your episode 10. So that must be roughly 20 weeks ago that I first asked you.
Oh, no, it doesn't feel like that long ago.
And I didn't badger you, I just kept planting little seeds along the way.
You did. And after I listened to a few, I was like, you know what, maybe I can do it. It does just seem like a chat. I am still terrified, but it'll be grand. As
I mentioned, Leeanne, you're through prep mode. You're actually in taper race week this week for London.
We are on race week.
So, well, let's have a wee quick chat about that before we go back to the beginning, because I've been following you for as long as I've had an Instagram running profile, and you do have a lot of races. You tend to have a lot lined up, but this one came as a bit of a bolt out the blue, didn't it? Was it 7 weeks notice?
It was pretty much 7 weeks before race day. I got a wee message on my DMs on Instagram, and I kind of did wonder, because 7 weeks isn't just a massive amount of time. I was doing a marathon in February, which I DNF'd because the girls kindly shared their code with me. So I did have the kind of mileage kind of banked from training for that as well. So it was one of those things where I was like, can I do it? I mean, it's a lot to organize in 7 weeks, but it's, it's London. It's one of those kind of once in a lifetime races that you're going to do. So
and is this your first London?
So officially, this is actually my first proper marathon race ever. Yeah. So I've done a virtual marathon, and then everything else has all been ultras. So yeah, so this will essentially be my first marathon race.
I love that casual bit. This is my first marathon, 9 ultras in. Well, that's quite exciting though, that it's your actual first proper marathon. This is going to feel like a training run.
Oh, no way.
What's the intention, I suppose, 7 weeks notice? Because as you said, even just the logistics of organising is going to London. It's so busy trying to, I'm sure, get transport and stuff. But what does that do in terms of your mentality going in? Or do you always go into a race with a time target? Or how's the head work for you?
To be honest, I never really go into a race massively with a target in time. It's always enjoy it and finish it. I'm definitely not one of those people that will be aiming for a PB. Running's all about enjoyment for me. So it's all about going out, having fun, and just embracing it all. And definitely that's what London is 100% going to be, is just enjoying it, enjoying the crowds, because it's going to be like something I've never experienced before. And yeah, just enjoy it, finish it.
Yeah, that's
have fun.
I'm halfway there. I've never worked out the enjoying it part yet, but I do enjoy finishing. So I suppose that's something that we have in common. You're going to get a PB. It's your first marathon.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, we've done like marathon distances kind of thing. So I keep telling everybody, my unofficial marathon PB is 4 hours 19, because that's what I've ran in previous. But
that's your Strava tells you at the end of an ultra.
Yeah.
It's quite impressive, that pace during an ultra. So logistically then, what's the plan? Are you travelling down yourself? Are you taking family? How are you managing it?
So that was another kind of thing, because obviously London's a long way away from Aberdeen. So, and you're never sure how, as much as I say, I'm going to go out, take it easy and enjoy it, you're still never sure how you're going to feel at the end of a race. And London's a long way away to go myself. So that was another thing I had to kind of figure out, was if there was anybody free that could potentially come with me with 7 weeks notice kind of thing. So yes, no, my sister-in-law is coming down with me. So we're flying down Saturday, staying Saturday night, running Sunday, and flying home Sunday evening.
Oh, that'll be an interesting walk up the flight stairs. Let's hope it's one of the tunnels and not one of the stair ones.
So thankfully she is coming with me, so I will have her there for support.
That's nice. That's nice. You've got somebody there. There's a few former guests running it as well, so hopefully if they see you, they can give you a wave and bring you into the fold for some company. So this is, and we should say this has come in conjunction with Flora as well, who have invited some influential people from the running community, and whether you like to hear that or not, you are an influential person in the running community. As I said, I've followed you for a while, but I obviously knew of your profile, I think probably through the Brooks Happy team. You find one and then you tend to find the rest because they're in contact with each other. How is that sitting with you, that, I suppose, rise in people recognising your profile? And we're speaking about it there. Tell me about that journey from what the running profile started as to where it is now.
Oh, so the running profile started as, like everybody, you were posting stuff on your personal one and you're pretty sure that your friends and family are getting fed up of listening to you chat about it all the time. So I think I made it up in, I think it was May 2020, so essentially lockdown. And it was fitness was giving me something to focus on. Obviously, it was homeschooling the girls, and I was still working because I work for the NHS. So I was running and doing strength sessions and HIIT workouts and stuff like that, just to essentially keep me sane. So I was posting about it quite a lot, because what else was there really to speak about, because it was lockdown. So I was like, right, no, I'm going to start a running Instagram page. So that was May 2020. And to be fair, probably the running Instagram community, it's their fault that I'm actually into ultras now, because once you delve into other runners' profiles and stuff, and you see them smashing out left, right, and center, and to be honest, it does blow my mind that people follow me. I literally just post about my training, and it blows your mind. Like,
yeah, I don't doubt it. I'm seeing the same type, not anywhere near that level of following, but I'm seeing the same thing happening through the podcast. And you think, but I'm not doing anything I wasn't doing like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. But the more, as you said, you get into it, it's so motivating, and it can have the opposite effect, I suppose, if you're not in a great place with your training, where, you know, if you'd withdrawn before the Manchester Marathon, I dare say Insta wasn't a great place to be yesterday, because you could get green with envy, and everybody's living their best life, or that's what you perceive it to be. But there's been far more positives than negatives on that journey, the connections you make and just the motivation. And that's something I think I got the sense of. It's not like you were not running before, and I'm going to take you back there in a minute, but it seemed to kick you up a notch with your training, your running in particular. Would that be right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't have had a clue about ultra running if it hadn't been for the Instagram community, to be honest. And I would have been probably quite happy just keeping on plodding along with like 5 and 10Ks. And I'd never really even entered any races or anything like that. But once you actually get involved in the community and you see everybody else smashing out, you're like, I could do that. Like, no bother at all. Like,
see, we're all happy at God's distance of 5K until the internet ruins it for us. These hills would be fun. No, they wouldn't. 60K would be fun. No, it wouldn't, but we'll do it anyway. So, right, take me back then, because that's the bit that's probably the gap for me. I see you're running since the beginning of the profile, but as I was doing the stock of it last night, prepping for this, I think I saw a post where maybe you'd helped your mum empty a loft or a cupboard or something, and you came across old medals. So then I saw that there was a runner in there from quite early. When did it start? Then when did you fall away from it? Because almost everybody does at some point.
Yeah, so we moved to America whenever I was 8 till I was 14 with my dad's job. So we moved to Texas. So obviously Texas is very much active, like cross country, track and field. I used to play softball, I used to do volleyball, basketball. Like I pretty much think I probably actually played every single sport whenever I was there. So I ran cross country. Those were all, I think, my cross country medals from when we stayed in America. So did that. And when we came back whenever I was 14, moved back into Aberdeenshire, and the academy I was at was pretty much, if you didn't play football, there was nothing else for you, kind of thing. So all the activities kind of fell to the wayside. I was kind of throughout uni, I would pick up and maybe do the odd 5K here and there, mostly just to help with the stress of going through university. And then had the kids. And then it wasn't until after I had my youngest, so she'll be away to turn 6, that probably got kick up the bum again, to get going again. And then I did Red January in the 2020 as just a challenge that I kind of decided I wanted to give myself. And then, like I say, ended up keeping on going, did run every day in May, and then started up my Instagram page. So to be honest, I haven't really done a lot that. It was all whenever I was in my teens doing cross country in America.
But you could see, or I could see certainly, the difference in when somebody even has a grounding from that age, cross country at that age. There's more of a confidence to take on running as an adult, because you know you've done it. You know what it feels like. You know it doesn't always feel as bad as it's going to feel in the beginning. And it's a different type of journey than I think those that are maybe an adult who've never run. That's a much more daunting. Your head's quicker to tell you what you can't do, and actually you're always thinking, is this going to feel as disgusting as this forever?
100%. I still, I think, even when I go out on runs like now, I still will think back to the things that my coach would have told me back whenever I was like 12. techniques that he would have told me that will then just pop up in my head and I'll be like, right, yes, do that and just keep going.
The American bit I didn't know. That's also an interesting one. I've got a couple of friends who I was a teacher previously there, looking at going out to teach in America at an international school, and they're both PE teachers actually, but the sort of rigor around what they have to be able to demonstrate they can take on sport-wise, organised sport is massive compared to here, where it's like
100%,
football or rugby or badminton, you specialise in sort of one as a PE teacher, but there's a full programme of and almost an expectation that you take part in some form of at least competitive sport. And I don't know, you've got kids yourself, and you're setting that example for them, but I think about that a lot here. There's not a whole lot of variety, and it's not open to everybody unless you pay. That's fine. You can go to tennis, but private lessons, you can go. It's not obtainable for everybody. Have you seen that yourself since you come back?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I've spoken to a couple of people that are maybe thinking about immigrating and stuff like that, and it is your 100%. I would do it. Like the age that I was there, I absolutely loved it, and it is. Like I say, whenever we came back, if you didn't do football, there really was nothing else for you here. Obviously, North East Scotland, it was very football orientated. And the girls, everything you have to pay for. Everything.
Yeah.
And everything
I see it all the time
as well.
And it's not like £5 a time. You're like, okay, £5, but it's £5 twice a week. You've got two kids. And how we're currently operating in this cost of living stuff, it's not obtainable to everybody. And I've spoken about it before, so not to labour a point too much, but I see junior parkrun as a wee bit of a beacon of light out there that is genuinely free. But I've got somebody coming on who is an ambassador for parkrun, and to call a spade, they can't get kids from poorer families to parkrun. It's full of middle class parents with middle class kids, So the people that are getting the lessons in tennis, that are already playing football and rugby, they're the ones at junior parkrun by and large. And then they go into the more deprived areas and communities, and those parkruns are really, really small. So I'd love to see more done to make a coordinated effort between the schools, promoting, and the transport being provided, because it's not free if you can't get there.
No, exactly. Well, our local parkrun is actually, they were trialling, they had their third trial yesterday. So they're trialling taking back junior parkrun. So we were there yesterday and took the girls along to it. And there was quite a lot of kids there. But again, it's just it's like a little village. So obviously we had to transport there. And like you say, not everybody can do it. Yeah.
And rurality is a different challenge. The school I was head teacher in was in a relatively rural area. And so kids missed a lot of extracurricular opportunities, because if you didn't get the school bus home, there wasn't another bus to get home, or it was 3 buses to get home. So even just getting there, and that was a more affluent area, and still the rurality caused a poverty of opportunity. So there's bits. My kids love junior parkrun now. They both actually, at the beginning of this episode, I've not recorded the blurby bit at the beginning, they both PB'd yesterday, and they are adamant they want to come on and talk about it again. So they may well we may well have heard from them, depending on what they say about their mum. I'm not sure I can get away with much more. But yeah, it's something I think through the podcast that I want to take on, trying to think how, because that's my job. I'm still in education. I think I can do something to raise the profile even locally, but it's just interesting, that American experience versus here. We've been to America a few times, and I see it. I see even when you're just on holiday, the difference in organisation is massive. So you're running when you're younger then. There was plenty of medals there. Does that mean you were good at it?
Oh no, I've always been proper mid-pack.
Are they participation medals you were showing off?
They're like 8th, 9th, 10th girl kind of thing. Like there's nothing above that.
To be quite fair, some of them were gold, some of them were bronze, and some of them were silver. So I'm thinking, my God, is she in the podium every time she races?
I should have maybe showed the other side of them that has the place on them. Everybody's
was bronze, no matter what. Oh, that's disappointing. I thought you were going to tell me you were rapid there as a youngster.
No.
So you've got that break, and you've listened to the podcast, so you've heard the journey of a couple of mums coming through, and people talking about pregnancy. Not an easy one to come back from either. because the time. That's the bit. That suppose that would be the first question I would have for you. It's why I wanted you on so much in the first place, because Brooks Run Happy Team, for anyone that doesn't know, if you go and have a look at them, it's a very diverse team of people, very diverse jobs, very diverse backgrounds. But you've got that life that I think would be recognisable by many people. Couple of kids, working a public sector job. How do you cram it in? How do you manage to fit your training in?
To be honest, half the time I don't even know myself. It's just about discipline, really, is it? I mean, I work 2 days a week, so I do have the other 3 days, and it is getting easier because both my girls are now at school. So my youngest started school after the summer, and that's been a massive help. And when she was still at nursery and that kind of things, it was a case of if she was in for the morning, then I went away out in the morning, and then I picked her up, and everything else was kind of done in the afternoon. It is certainly getting easier the older that they are. My eldest loves going on her bike, so we'll come out on her bike and she'll bike along with me for, if I go out even for like 10 miles, she'll quite happily come out with me for that. To be honest, half of it is just being disciplined, and you kind of have to be, and you have to be a bit selfish.
I love that quote I saw on one of your posts when I was looking last night, saying the exercising comes before the housework.
Oh, 100%.
And
do you want to see my house?
and that's I can see a house in the background, guys. Disgusting. I'm telling you. No, I'm kidding. I kid. But that's not many people do that, because it's what you prioritise, isn't it? Yeah. And your body and your well-being and your mind. Who cares if you get a clean house if that's a mess?
Yeah, you have to look after yourself to be able to look after everybody else. So, like I say, you do have to be selfish sometimes, and everything does get done eventually. But
yeah, I think you're also doing yourself a disservice saying that it's easy because the kids are at school. You were doing this during lockdown. I was looking back. Do you know, you nearly made me nostalgic for lockdown, because there was all these videos of, remember all the crazy challenges that were kicking about? Trying to do a handstand to put your t-shirt on and stuff like that. And I was going back through.
That was one of my first videos.
I think it was. It was like second or third video, and I was thinking about it and going, oh my goodness! I remember all the kids at school were doing like keepy ups with a toilet roll and things. There was a challenge, and all the schools were doing it. All these things. Loads of bad things came from lockdown, but so many fitness journeys started and really kicked on. See, when we're doing this, every conversation, there's a golden thread running through of something in there was when people started to prioritise themselves a bit more. Yeah. Do you feel that with the people you know as well, in and around you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there is so many people that started their journey through lockdown, to be honest. When you look at so many across Instagram, a lot of people started in lockdown 2020 and look where I am now, kind of thing. And it's amazing to see, because like I say, what else was there really to do? So, and it's amazing that people did find a way to better themselves and keep themselves fit and healthy, and that they've kept that going as well.
Yeah, I think I should have drawn attention to it in Kaylee's chat last week. I was too busy listening, but that's something that you would want people to know. See, when the world went into that crisis, the one thing we were all still allowed to do was exercise. That's the importance of it. And so many people started. But see, to anybody that didn't, look where a lot of people are now. Forget the lockdown, when you cut the noise out. Yeah. They're doing things they could never have imagined. They're a different person than they were even just 2 years ago. The progress can come in bunches when you get over the hump of the hard bit at the beginning. And that's whether you're coming, that's whether you're coming back to it from, like you were, from having a baby, or like I was, from being a slob and being lazy and just fell out of love with it all. The progress you can make, you're not where you're going to be. That's something I wanted to sort of touch on. And your profile, for anybody looking through that, forget the cross-country stuff. That's from an almost standing start after your second child again, of, right, I've had enough, I need to get myself back in shape.
Yeah.
And was that a moment for you, or was that it's just time now?
To be honest, I think it was just, it was time. I mean, I did kind of start probably before that, the summer kind of before lockdown. Like I say, I think that was when she would have been 3 and started nursery, and you just had that wee bit more time to be able to spend the time on yourself. And then lockdown just gave it a huge push.
Yeah.
Huge push.
And you got a treadmill, didn't you? Did you have a treadmill anyway?
No, so that was my birthday present that year. So
that's when you know you've reached ultimate peak sadness as a runner.
Yeah, get excited about the treadmill. Yeah, so the treadmill, yeah, that helps massively. Like I say, it's always my last resort because we have it inside the house and it's just roasting.
Yeah.
It's not enjoyable at all. And I do think back to, I mean, just now I probably struggle to do 5K on it because I haven't had to use it for so long. But back in lockdown, I think I was doing like 16 miles on it.
Yeah, that's huge.
You're just like, that's bonkers. Like,
yeah, I have one in the garage, but it's firmly in there. I've been running in all terrain, all weather, rather than going on it. But it's a great option to have, and you can actually pick them up relatively cheaply as well. Somebody looking to get rid of one.
Yeah, well, our one was the second-hand one off of the Facebook Marketplace, I think, and it's been grand.
Yeah, it definitely helps, but it just helps that organisation part. So, but you're tying in your running with a lot of strength and conditioning. No way I'm getting myself another row. Okay, so let's not ask me about mine. Let's just talk about yours. 2 to 3 times a week, I see you on your profile and you're doing strength training. Has that always been the case, even when you weren't running? Or again, did that come with what you were doing since lockdown?
So yeah, I probably wouldn't have done weights before. So I haven't long gotten like my squat rack and stuff like that. I have always had like my adjustable dumbbells, which have always been used previous to lockdown and stuff like that. I think I actually got them in between my first and second being born. And I used to use YouTube videos essentially to do strength work. So it is something that I've done for a while. It did kind of get curbed a wee bit after my second, and I started more into like HIIT workouts and stuff like that alongside my running, and I have the bike. But once I got the squat, I kind of realized I probably needed to get the heavier kind of stuff back in again, I think last year. So we got a second-hand squat rack and got it sorted out. So, and 100%, it was funny. I was saying to someone actually the other day that, touch wood, I haven't actually been injured for quite a while.
Yeah.
I would probably say since probably after I did Benny Heat and did Space Side Weight at the end of 2020, to be honest. Probably because I did 2 ultras far too close together, but I had a knee injury after that. But ever since then, touch wood again, I've been clear of injuries, and the strength work works, obviously. Like
for sure. 2 things that have come from what you've just said there. One, I'm so glad you said the name of that ultra. I didn't know that's how you pronounced it, and I would have butchered that.
Oh yeah.
So that's an absolute win that you didn't make me say it wrong first time. But second of all, I suppose I'm in the YouTube stage at the moment, or actually the app that I'm using, but it's mostly bodyweight stuff. I'm at the point now where, all joking aside from the rows that I get about strength and conditioning, I can see the deficit now in my running because of the increased load. So that's it. I think if you're running 5 and 10K, it will benefit you for sure. I'm not necessarily sure you particularly need it. You know, I've been doing 5, 10Ks without being injured ever. Now that I'm up to these 30K runs, and you really feel the difference, and not so it's something that I'm probably a bit late into this marathon block, but I've got an ultra coming up after it. And even after that though, it's just something I need to invest in myself in. But how did you progress from YouTube to actually knowing what you're doing? You look like you know what you're doing.
Hold on. So I think so. To be honest, I generally think I ended up just Googling stuff. And then I started with a coach running up to the Ring of Steel race in, when was that, 2021, I think I did. Yeah, 2021 I did Ring of Steel. So I was approached by Rob. I kind of put a bit on my Instagram page kind of saying, if you've had a running coach, do you feel like you've benefited? Because it is sometimes you just need that push to be accountable to someone. There's only so much you can push yourself, and you do kind of start getting kind of waylaid a wee bit. So I put a wee post on, and I had ran a good part of my Murray Way 15 miler with Rob. I think we ran the first like 13 miles together chatting. So he messaged me and was like, look, I'm just going through all my courses. I would be happy to coach you if you just give me some feedback on it afterwards. So I ended up with Rob for about a year and a half. Rob coached me, so it was good because he gave me all my strength stuff as well.
Yeah.
And gave me the weights that I should be doing. So that was great. I stopped with Rob like the end of last year, just generally because I'd been with him for a year and a half, and I felt like I needed a break the end of last year. I needed to focus more on getting back the enjoyment of running and doing what I could fit in. And then I've just newly started with Dan because I kind of felt like my nutrition side of things was kind of, I haven't been eating the right things. So started with Dan. So Dan started giving me all my nutrition plans and my strength work again, which has been great because he was saying, after I told him kind of what I had been doing recently, he kind of was like, look, Leeanne, you're doing London. What you've been doing is great for off-peak training times to get that strength built up. He was like, but just now he says, you're doing too much because you're way to pretty much hike up your mileage. Your legs are not going to have the chance to recover from your strength work to be able to function good for your running. So I'm back to body weight kind of stuff at the moment, which has been great as well because it isn't giving those muscle, like the muscles are getting worked so much just now because I did have to hike my mileage up quite quick. So I have had a bit of help quite a lot recently with the strength work.
Yeah, there's loads out there though, isn't there, for people just beginning that. It's a scary bit of the journey actually starting the strength stuff because if you get it wrong, you can actually injure yourself trying to do right if your posture's not right but getting help, whether it's a coach, if you can afford to invest in yourself. I've spoken to a couple of coaches on this and people that are coached, and I can see the benefit they get. I would call them the serious runners, so that makes you a serious runner, just so you know. But there's also these online apps as well, and whilst you're not getting that same personalised touch, see that level of taking the thought, planning out of it and the accountability, that's a big thing for me because I don't want to spend 2 hours planning my running. We can't all laminate lists, Leeanne.
No, I know. I love my laminated
goodness, you're like a primary teacher. I was looking through it last night. I'm like, oh my God, she laminates her plans and ticks them off and everything.
Yeah, I do like ticking them off on a bit of paper, to be honest.
So, I mean, you're the ultimate running geek. I've got massive respect for it. But the app's doing the same thing for me, except I just don't need a marker. It's all there. But I know a couple of people with Dan as well that have worked with Dan. And I think once you get into that world of plugging in your nutrition to your strength, amazing things can start happening because it's not just running anymore.
When the strength plan came through and the nutrition plan came through, and I was like trying to start reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is completely mind-boggling. But once you actually sit down and properly think about it, it hasn't been too hard to implement. But when it first came through, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And 100%, I lost like 2.5 pounds in 2 weeks. Not really trying, but not really trying. But even just the fatigue for after my running, I've noticed a huge difference in not being as tired, because that is a huge thing for marathon training. And that when you start increasing those mileage, your body feels tired, your brain feels tired. But haven't had, it's only been 6 weeks of training, but after those long runs, I haven't had that same fatigue. And that's the only thing that I've really changed is what I'm eating.
And what is the sort of changes, without getting too deep into the weeds with it? What are the biggest things that you've had to change?
Probably just focusing more on like hitting that protein goal, and some days I'm even struggling to hit my calorie goal. Sometimes I feel like I'm actually eating so much. Organization as well. You kind of have to properly sit down and plan out what you're gonna, obviously this week is completely different again. So I've almost just gotten used to what the few weeks nutrition has been like. And then this week is completely different because obviously it's marathon week, and today, tomorrow and Wednesday are the same as what I have been doing. But then after Thursday, it's just,
I throw all the carbohydrates at you.
Oh yeah.
Pasta party in Aberdeen. Sure. Aberdeenshire, because it's not Aberdeen.
Yes.
It's like, that's the typical somebody from Glasgow that thinks Aberdeen's just one wee place. And then you realise it's like half the world in the north of Scotland. That's big changes. Organisation, again, had a few people on speaking about it. If you're not organised, you can't eat well. It's as simple as that. You need to, again, 100%. Invest in it.
Yeah, and it's what I said to him as well. Like, one of the things I won't ever do is we all make sure that it's supper time. We all sit down together. So we will all sit down with the girls and we all have supper together. Now, normally it is really early. It's like 5 o'clock. So I think we were getting on. I think he was asking me about if there's certain time of days, like if we set a regime, you eat at this time kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, everything else apart from supper time. I was like, because supper time is non-negotiable. Like, that is when we sit down all together and we eat together.
Yeah, that's again back to that everyday real life type runner. You're not a paid athlete. This is not your job.
Yeah.
You want to be good at it. You want to be healthy, but that's a red line that should absolutely stay.
Yeah.
But to what end?
I've always said that. I think I'm always a mum first. The mum side of it always comes first.
Yeah.
Runner side second.
Yeah. And I think, that's absolutely the way it has to be. Because what's the alternative? You sit on your own and you eat at a scheduled time. It might make you a minute faster. It might mean you can run for 10 miles longer. But at what expense? You're losing out on, you don't get many of those years. They rattle by.
No. Yeah, definitely.
So no, I couldn't agree more. I want to then move, I'm jumping back and forward a bit here, but your profile begins as you start that running profile, you're up to about 2,000-3,000 followers. Then the moment comes, it probably changes it, although you wouldn't have known to the extent at the time. Brooks Run Happy Team, I'm really interested to know how it came about, what made you apply, and what did you know about it before you even got in?
If you go back to, did you go back to like one of my first posts on Instagram was whenever I started properly running, I was like, right, I need a decent pair of trainers. If I'm going to start increasing my mileage, I need a decent pair of trainers. So I did a wee bit of research and found the Brooks Adrenalines. And essentially they have been my long distance running shoe ever since. So that definitely, I mean, through Instagram is how you find out about all this kind of stuff, is it? I mean, I didn't know there was a Run Happy Team before I had my running Instagram page. Probably didn't even really know about Brooks Running trainers before I actually did some research into trainers, because I was increasing that mileage. I needed a decent pair of shoes. And I think I did apply I think it's every September they put out the applications for the Run Happy Team for the following year. And you just throw your name in the ring kind of thing. You're like, oh, what have I got to lose? Like, fill it out. So I think I have filled it out every year since I had kind of my Instagram page. But I suppose that would have just been 2020. So I would have filled it out in 2020, didn't get in the team, filled it out again 2021. Then when I got the email from Laura, I genuinely thought that it was like a spam email. I'm not going to lie. I actually clicked on the name, double checked the email address. And then I remember messaging and be like, are you actually serious? Like, this isn't a joke. Because you see, I didn't have that many followers at the time. And you look at all the people and you just think they're so motivational. They've got such a following, like they're doing amazing things. Like, you just never think that you're going to get picked. So I found out, I think it was the end of November, 2021, I found out, and it was a case of, got the email and it was like, you can't announce it till January. And I was like, what? I'm going to have to keep this a secret for a couple of months. Like, this is going to be so hard. And I remember phoning my husband being so excited, and he was like, oh yeah, okay. And I was like, not excited about this. So I ended up phoning one of my good running pals, Katie, and telling her, and she had the same level of excitement I did, which was great because my husband just didn't understand.
I bet let's make that a cautionary tale to everybody. This is why you have your running Instagram, because nobody bloody cares, and that's okay. But we care. This is a podcast for people that care about that stuff.
He was like, all right, okay, whatever, kind of.
Well, go you. Yeah, wow.
And then January announced that it was on the team. It still does feel a bit surreal that I'm on it, to be honest. I still do sometimes think, why? But I think everybody's kind of going to be like that. Like, it's, you know what it's like in running sometimes. You get so much imposter syndrome sometimes. And I remember going down to the first meet and being like, you followed all these people you followed all these people since you started. And then you're in this room with them all kind of thing. And it was completely overwhelming the very first meet that I went to. But you know what? Everybody is so lovely that, yeah, it's not long and you're making friends and you know everything about them all. And like, we've got a WhatsApp group and yeah, it's great.
That imposter syndrome is the other thread that links every guest that I've had on. And that should be reassuring to everybody. 6-star finishers, masters, athletes, beginner runners, they're all sharing the same feelings, stepping onto race lines, stepping into new rooms. We went to the Lululemon event 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and that was, I think, almost everybody in that room would have been feeling the same walking in the door. Like, why am I here? Again, I thought that was a spam email. I was clicking into Amy, who messaged profile. I'm like, is she for real? Is this? Because you do get a lot of spam emails. You get a lot of spam messages on Insta. I'm looking saying, but why? Why do you want us there? Why do you want me there? I don't get it. But they've clearly seen in you what I see in your profile and what loads of others do. You know, there's no forced. You're not doing it to the end of trying to become an influencer. You're not doing it to the end. And I think sometimes they get a bad rap, people in your position, a wee bit of jealousy sometimes, a wee bit of lack of understanding of how it happens, or you might hear the odd negative comment or not, you know, or look at you being invited to this or that. The London Marathon, for example, you're getting a chance there, but that's not why you applied to become, that's not why you started a running profile, you know, that's natural growth.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I would like to still think that I do still post the same as what I would have done when I started the page way back in 2020. Like, it's very much a case of this is what I've done today. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, and the thing is as well, when I did my recap what was that, last month, I think I did a wee recap of 3 posts of the ultras that I'd done so far. And you know what, actually sitting and going back through the Instagram page and looking at your posts from all the races that you've done and just reliving them.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so glad actually that I did start it up, because my memory is not the best.
Yeah.
So going back and actually looking back and being like, oh yeah, I remember feeling like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like, that's the reason to do it.
And you know, I had a really good run that day. You can look back at the 3 weeks before and say, what was I doing? What was different? What, you know, there is a journaling aspect to using your Insta like that, because I don't put overly personal things on there. I don't really talk about anything like that on Insta. It's running, but some of my personal friends follow me, and I'm like, why do you follow this? You must be bored senseless. Yeah. I actually started this so I don't need to talk to them about running, and then they followed my page. Only through the podcast they found out about it. But yeah, no, there's a realness to it. I was glad to see that they brought you back as well for this year, because you were COVID disrupted as well, so that would have been I'm sure the opportunities for the Run Happy team, your class, were a bit different.
Yeah, it was quite agonising finding out. We always have to reapply every year, and I was sure, I was like, oh no, I'm not going to make it again for the next year, but I did, thankfully, because it's just such a nice community to be a part of. It's amazing.
Can you tell us a wee bit about what's involved being in it, Leeanne? Like, so when you sign up and then you get that email, what's the expectations of you?
Not much, to be honest. I think a lot of us are picked because they obviously like how we come across on our Instagram. So I think it is being yourself, being authentic kind of thing as to how you come across.
There is a sincerity, because the Unhappy team are not all like, as silly as it sounds, they're not all smiley all the time. Oh, everything's wonderful. There's some honesty posts on there, and there's people like everybody else. There'll be up and downs in that team. What about that expectation on your time though? Do you attend things with the team? Like, what actually happens? I suppose that's the bit that they'll see what you post, but they don't see anything really beyond it.
We met up quite a lot last year, I think, generally because the year before the team didn't get to meet up so much because of everything that was going on in the world. So, I mean, we got really lucky last year in the sense of we got taken to Portugal. So I think the first meet last year was supposed to be in the February, but I couldn't make that one because that was the time that there was that really bad storm over Birmingham.
Right.
So my flight and that had gotten cancelled. So that was going to be my first time that I was going to go and meet everyone. So I was packed And it was the night before that the flight got cancelled, and I was absolutely gutted. But we were able to still, they set up like a Zoom link so that we could still watch the presentation and what was kind of going on that day. And then we met up in London for Earth Day. So I flew down to London and met up with everyone, it was a flying visit, but it was great because the next meet we were going to was Portugal, and I hadn't met anybody officially yet. So it was fine. It was really good going to London, being able to meet everybody, put a face to everybody's name, just to kind of say hi, because the next meet was Portugal, which, to be honest, still absolutely blows my mind that they took us away to Portugal for the weekend. And it was absolutely amazing. I mean, it's not easy for me, obviously, because I'm in the northeast of Scotland. Get into some of these places is not the easiest to get to. I've seen you having to travel down to like Glasgow or Edinburgh to then get a flight to Birmingham, because Aberdeen is absolutely shocking for flights. So we don't need to put a lot of time to them, but going to the meets and spending time with even the people that work for Brooks and having a chat with them about all the kit, and even with all the rest of the Unhappy team members. On the WhatsApp group, we're always speaking about, right, what did you think of these shoes, or what do you think of these? And there's so many people like that you can get tips from. What do you think would be a good shoe for this or that kind of thing? And we were, so to be honest, I landed really lucky last year because of the meets that there were last year, because they didn't get so many the year before because of COVID. And
well, if this is going to sound more offensive than I mean it, right? But if one's going to be cancelled, I'd rather it was Birmingham than Portugal. No offence, Birmingham. Let's just say it's about the weather.
I was absolutely gutted. I was searching any way that I could get down to Birmingham for that weekend, just because I was like, right, I need to go and meet everyone, and it was going to be the first one. And so we went down to Birmingham in January, so got to meet the new team members in January. So we went down to Birmingham in January, and we're supposed to have another meet up in the summer at some point, but there's no dates or that being confirmed yet.
So there you go, everyone. That's how the process works of these type things, and nobody ever thinks they're going to be picked, but the one way to guarantee you'll never be picked is to never apply. So get your applications in, folks. And if I think, particularly if a brand ties in with what you enjoy and what you like, and that you like their values, you've got nothing to lose, literally nothing to lose by sticking your name in the ring. And yes, you'll feel like an imposter. Everybody does. You're an imposter until you're not. You fake it till you make it. Sometimes I think that just has to be how it goes. So the Unhappy team, being included, must have been a bit of a boost to your confidence as a runner as well.
Oh, 100%. Even being put in those social situations where you have to talk to people. I mean, I'm not great going into a big crowd and making myself known. Somebody speaks to me, grand. But you have to be, there's so many people, you have to put yourself out there to get to know everyone, because the team is quite big. And even with obviously the people that work for them and stuff like that, you have to put yourself out there. It does give you more confidence to be able to go and do other things like this.
Well, I'm going to ask you about that, because I remember sending you a message weeks and weeks ago, maybe a couple of months, about wanting to hear your voice more because I've seen your story, and I see some of the other members of that team and actually people that do similar things, and I hear their voice. And you have been quite stubbornly on the reels, the voiceover stuff. I'm like, I don't even know if I know what Leeanne sounds like, but I have noticed recently more and more you're starting to put yourself out there more, and I'm really thoroughly enjoying that content, and I think it brings a more personal connection to your doing. So, is that being conscious?
Yeah, so I was speaking to my other half's family at the weekend about doing this, and his auntie follows me, and she was like, oh, I have noticed you've started kind of getting on your stories and speaking more. I'm like, yeah, I'm practicing. It's
good. It's really, really good. I just want you to know that as somebody who follows you as well. It's very, I mean, you've got what, about, is it 16,000 odd followers, 17,000? It's so many. And I follow hundreds and hundreds of people. See, the people that speak, you feel like you know them before you know them, if that makes sense. So when I've met then some of the runners that I've met through Insta, there's definitely that, I know a bit more about you, because there's an openness to speaking. It's difficult when you're just a square in a profile all the time because you get so many, like you'll follow 15 people called Leeanne. And you're like, which Leeanne is that? but now we're hearing your voice. So I wanted to say well done for it. And the content is so good, so keep going with it. You probably lack confidence first time you set out in an ultra, so we're going to talk about them.
Yeah.
Why ultras? Like, why from somebody? I was assuming there was going to be marathons in the middle of this. Like, when I asked you about the journey, you can't surely have gone 5-10Ks to ultra.
So, almost. So 2020, year of lockdown, I was due to, I turned 30 in the July, so it came in the May. I was like, right, start of June, after I'd had my page for a couple of weeks, obviously had started following all these people, I was like, right, I'm going to run a half marathon before I turn 30, got a couple of weeks to be grand. So I think I'd had quite a stressful day at home one night, and my husband came home from work and I was like, see ya, I'm away kind of thing, like the girls are bedded, I'm off. So I went out and I did a half marathon. I was absolutely knackered. I actually had to stop down the road and get my neighbour to give me a lift up the road because I was absolutely done. So before that, I think I'd done, my longest run had been 8 miles.
Yeah.
So that was in the June. So I was like, right, I've done it now. I've still got a month till I turn 30. What am I going to do now? I need to do something. There's not much else to do. So I started researching local races that were potentially happening that year. Obviously, there wasn't a lot happening because of COVID. And I came across the Benagee Ultra, which is an ultra at one of our local hills. It's 50k and about 5,000 feet of climbing all over go around outside Benagee and then all the peaks over Benagee. And I kind of started looking a wee bit more into it, started following a couple more ultra runners and looking at their journey as to where they started and where they were at now. And I was like, you know what, maybe I could do it. I was like, I'll sign up. So I think the entries opened the day after I turned 30. So I signed up for it. And then I was like, right, okay, I've got to make a training plan up now. So this race was going to be in October. It was literally going to be 13 weeks later. And I'd only run half marathon distance once. And I was like, right, okay. So I had a wee look online and I found it was an Under Armour 50k trail training plan online that I found, and I literally followed it to a T for 13 weeks.
Laminated it.
So I laminated it.
That's the plan. That's the one I saw. That's the one I saw online. I'm like, oh my God, what a geek.
Yeah, so I pretty much followed it to a T, and in the October I took on my first ultra, and I did it for charity. I'd convinced myself that I would do one the year I turned 30 and that would be it.
So that's not dissimilar to what I'm going to face in August in terms of distance. I think it's a wee bit further I'm going, but the elevation sounds familiar. I can't even remember. I'm refusing. I've got my head in the sand. But what advice can you give to a man in that position? Apart from I will have a plan. I'm actually going to be trialling some of the Cooper Run Coach new trail plans. So I'm going to so I will have a plan. But in terms of on the day, or training wise, what's the advice? Go and recce some of it so that it takes that dauntiness out of your head as to what you're doing. I think I did one training run a week up at Benagee, and I knew I did the longest inside bit, which was 18 miles, and knowing that was coming, that last 18 miles, knew what energy I possibly needed to save doing the first half marathon, because the first kind of half 12 miles of the ultra is quite a quick, you can get off at a decent kind of pace, and I did do it too quick, even knowing what was coming, to be honest. So yeah, 100% recce. Fueling is a huge thing in ultras. So essentially I fuel every half hour. I'm taking something, even though I don't think I need it from the very start. Were these unsupported, or was it drop bags, or how does it work? So I think that first year, because it was COVID, we weren't, if I remember back right, I don't think we were allowed drop bags. I think we had to have everything on us. Right. But most of the ones I've done since, there is drop bags, and 100% I always use the drop bags as well. So it just means that you have less to carry to start with, and then you're kind of topping up again. So I think we've got two drop bags in that. So it's the West Highland Way part of that, Tyndrum to Fort William, which I've walked the West Highland Way before. So so it's not completely, you kind of know what's not completely unfamiliar. Although I looked at my feet, I was completely unaware as what I'd strolled out there. Leanne is somebody who played football, thinking how hard can it be? My feet I can't tell you the state my feet were in. I had like
Oh,
the
no.
wrong shoes. I hadn't walked before it. It was not a great experience. So this won't be any worse than that. I am sure of it. Are you running with poles?
No, I've never used poles.
So I was interested in that.
Yeah, so Benihee, you're not allowed poles. The only race that I've kind of done that would be allowed, the Ultra X Scotland ones would be allowed poles, but whenever I did the Solomon Ring of Seal Sky race, I hummed and hawed with taking poles with me, but I didn't know the route, and there were certain points if you had your poles out, you got disqualified. I was like, well, I'm not taking the chance.
Why is that? Is that conservation
Because
type thing?
because it's a sky race kind of thing. So you're scrambling quite a bit of the race because it's up the Ring of Steel Monrose.
Yeah.
So I think it was a safety point of view because you would probably we would have needed your hands kind of thing. So there was certain the scrambling points on that route. If you had your poles seen out, then you weren't.
You're really selling it.
It was a bonkers
that
race.
That race.
I went into that one not having a clue, like knowing that, because what was it, like 18 miles and 8,000 feet of climbing, like I'd practiced like walking Monrose all summers with the girls to kind of get my elevation up for that race, but even then it was bananas compared to what I actually thought it was going to be.
That race has broken and kicked the bum of several people I know, and they've DNF'd a couple of times. So they're a bit of a rock star for even getting through that. Probably best you don't actually know exactly what you're going into for these type things. You wouldn't do it.
To be fair, something like that. Yeah, no, I actually, like, I remember coming up to one of the scrambling points and the guy standing there with like hard hats on, and this guy behind me was obviously, I think he was actually terrified of heights, and he kept going, oh my God, look how high we are. Look, I was like, will you please be quiet? I was like, coming up to these guys with hard hats on, we're ready to like scale up this bit, and you're yapping behind me, like completely putting me off, like just shush.
That's just hardcore to my mind, but there must have been ultras between obviously the first and that.
Oh yeah, so I did Benihee in October 2020, and literally the day after I finished Benihee, absolutely broken, I decided to then sign up for the Murray Speyside Way Ultra 5 weeks later in the November, which is still, I think, my worst race to date that I have ever felt while running. But obviously,
just because of the recovery.
5 weeks in between those two ultras. That was like, Benihee was my first ultra. It was it was, I keep saying anytime anybody asks me about that race, I'm like, oh, I hate it, but I really probably should go back and do it on fresher legs, because I think I would actually enjoy the race. It was just that time that I ran it, it wasn't good. I finished it, but it took a lot to finish that one.
But you've learned about what's doable over the course of months or a year or a season.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely gotten a lot better. I did sign up for quite a lot in 2021. And then last year I was a lot more sensible. And this year I am being more sensible.
So London's obviously come as a surprise out of left field for you. What's the actual aim after that?
So after London, I have the Saltire 24-hour race, the 10th and 11th of June. So I was originally signed up for the 12-hour race, but I've kind of took it in my head this year that I want to hit a distance PB. So I want to hit 100K, essentially. And the last time I did a 12-hour, it was a virtual race I did in 2021. I did a 12-hour, the Ultra X 12-hour virtual Dawn to Dusk challenge. So I got 60 miles. So I was really close to getting the 100K. I never thought I would have gotten anywhere close to the 60 miles, to be honest. My goal going into it was if I got to 50, I would be happy. But when I got to 60 miles and when I realised just how close I was to the 100K, I was like, right. So last year,
You got that far by the time limit? Is that...
Yeah, 60. Yeah,
so it wasn't the legs giving up, it was the time.
No, it was the time limit. Yeah. Last year my focus had been the backyard ultra. That was kind of the key race last year to take on a different race format. So this year I've kind of gone back and I'm like, no, I want to hit 100K distance. So I had originally signed up for the Saltire 12, but I've decided to up it to the 24 just to make sure that I definitely get it in, kind of thing, because that's the main goal. Anything over 100k, or if I can even keep going after the 100k, will be a bonus. But the aim is to hit that 100k at some point within those 24 hours.
I'm laughing here, and the people can't see me, but I'm laughing because over 100k was a good training week for me about 7 weeks ago. I don't know what's happened to me that I now talk to people who are thinking about doing that in one run. It's like, you guys really need to get a new hobby. You're ruining this. So that's the A goal then.
That is, 100k is kind of the A goal. Anything over that will be a bonus. It's the same idea as the backyard ultras, and I think it's loops of about 6k out. It's actually it's a local race, so it's quite nice. It's not that far away. So yeah, aim for that is 100k, and that is kind of the goal race for this year.
Can you explain what the backyard ultra format is, just briefly? Because if, like me, I googled it last week because I met somebody who'd done it. Never heard of it before. I think if you are a road runner, we assume that people know these things. Tell me that format again. Yeah,
so essentially it is, so I did it last July. So I did the Highlander Backyard Ultra at Blair Athol in Scotland. So this was the first year that they have ran that. That was the first year they ran that Backyard Ultra in Scotland. So it is coming back again. It's back again this year if you want to do it.
I'm all right, thank you. I'll just ask questions about it. It seems easier.
So every hour on the hour, you have to be at the start line, ready to start the next loop. So the next loop is 6k, so about 4.2 miles, essentially, a loop. And you have to finish that loop on the hour, essentially get fueled up, sorted out, go to the toilet, be back on the start line, ready to start that next loop on the hour. And it's essentially it's the last one standing. So everybody keeps going until there's one person going, and the winner has to do a complete loop by themselves in the time limit to be the winner as such. That was the first time that I'd done that kind of race format. So me and one of my friends from Aberdeen, so we went down, we shared a gazebo, just the two of us, like didn't have any support crew, which was completely the wrong thing to do. We thought we would have plenty of time to do the loop, sort ourselves out and be back on that start line. But that was the lesson number one that we took away from that, was you 100% need a support crew on a event of that type. I mean, to be honest, like, so I did 10 loops and it was just starting to get dark and the rain was coming down, but I started having stomach issues about 8 miles in, and it was because by the time I was getting back to the gazebo, I wasn't getting the fueling in.
You're having to prep it.
Because I was panicking about getting back on that start line for the next hour kind of thing. So it kind of got to that point where I think I came in finishing loop 10 with just about 2 minutes, and I literally like ran, tried to get some stuff to get back on the start line, and started loop 11, but I was like, no.
Yeah, and you're always going to hit that point. You're always going to hit that point anyway, and fatigue at some point, but like that time wasted having to stress about getting your nutrition right, I think you need to be crewed with something like that, don't you?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I kind of said whenever I finished it, I was like, never again, but I do want to do another one, and I want to go with crew and give it a good bash.
Press plane run crew. I'm much better suited to crewing at that type of thing than running.
Yeah.
I'd do the first loop and I guarantee you I'd be up there in the top few. I'd go and run it as fast as I could, and then that's me done every day. I'll crew for the rest of it. That's obviously an exciting A goal that you've got. That format's insane. Everybody who doesn't win gets a DNF, which I just find it's compelling, because if you're competitive, like that notion of that's literally first or last, isn't it? Doesn't matter. There's nothing in between.
Yeah, there's nothing in between at all. Yeah, no.
You must have a bit of a competitive streak in you, because I have noticed as well a pattern of you finish something and you've either already signed up for something, or do you always need something to be shooting at?
Probably. I do like to always have a next race to kind of plan towards, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I do quite like the start of the year. I mean, even towards the end of last year, I really didn't have any, apart from Saltire, I think I didn't have anything on the books for this year. And I think even towards the end of last year, I was like, I need to get my race calendar sorted for next year. Like, I need to start thinking about the ones that I do want to do. The one that you're doing in August was going to be on my list, but we're away.
Yeah.
So we're away on holiday when it is. And so which one is it?
The Devil of the Highlands. Yeah.
I would also like to do the Highland Fling, because I would love to say that I have ran the whole length of the West Highland Way.
Yeah.
So those two are definitely, they were kind of on my list to look out for this year. But then the Highland Fling isn't on this year. And then your Devil of the Highlands is when we're away on holiday. So I was like, oh, well, that's going to have to get kept for another year.
I'm actually really looking forward to it, as much as I've got no experience in this field, complete novice, but I'm looking forward to getting into the trails, because I feel like I've been killing myself in this marathon block, but also I have got no expectations in time, which for me is a new thing. Finishing before cut off is the expectation.
Yeah, definitely. And I always think as well, like I always say that to people, see, when you're running an ultra, you could literally get someone's whole life story in a couple of miles, because you end up you could run with this person for like hours kind of thing, and just generally because you're taking it so easy, so you can just chat away and just enjoy the experience kind of thing. And I think that's what I like about ultra race. I mean, obviously there is people that go out there and they push for their PBs, but I like the fact that you can go away out on the trails, spend a day on the trails, yap to new people, take it easy, and prove that you can do something amazing. Really,
it'll be a new experience completely, because I don't think I've done a half Ironman before, and that maybe their completion was mostly the goal, although I still had time elements for the cycle and the run in my head. So that's the closest thing I've ever had. That was up and down Nevis, the half marathon part of that. So that was torturous with the weather and completely inexperienced. This will be a different proposition, 8 from the club going, so I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm hoping that I catch a bit of the bug. Would it be fair to say, I think it is fair to say for you, trails have got your heart, really?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, even to be honest, even for London, I probably haven't trained on the roads like I have. I'm so lucky where I stay, so we have like an old railway line that's literally just in the village, and it goes out from my village in 3 different ways. So every day I could run like a different part kind of thing. So you never get tired of running the same trail all the time. I do have a wee bit of distance to go to kind of get to hillier trails, which obviously I do a lot of my running when the girls are at school. So sometimes it is harder time-wise by the time you travel somewhere and then get a really good run in to get back in time for obviously picking the girls up from school or the bus coming kind of thing. So I am kind of limited in that sense, but yeah, I don't do a lot of road running as well.
No, like, and I do next to no trails unless it's with the dogs, and that's flat-ish trails. But I'm looking forward to it. I hope I do, because it seems like a logical conclusion. At some point, you can't keep trying to run faster forever. I keep telling myself. What's that sort of location geography bit like for you trying to get events? Does that make it difficult for you? Because even just the logistics of having to eat in time and get out to somewhere.
Yeah, so I mean, even for a lot of it, so that like the Benahee is about 50-minute drive for me kind of thing, and that's one of the local ultras that are here. There is more kind of popping up here, like up here with ultra racing. I've actually got a local one that is actually starting on the railway line from the village at the start of May, which I had thought about signing up for until I'd gotten my London place, and it's just too soon after that to be doing a 12-hour there kind of thing. So there is quite a few, but for likes of the Backyard Ultra, that's down in Blair Athol. So my mum and the girls and me went away for the whole weekend kind of thing, and we hired an Airbnb for them. So the girls were kicking about the day that I did it, but it adds a lot of expense in that onto the racing.
That's what I was thinking.
It does. We have the Murray Way series, which is quite a local one as well, because it's kind of just in the Murray, so it's just kind of around the coast from where I am. So I've done a lot of those. I am doing another one of theirs that end in November, the Dab Away one, which I haven't done it before. So I am looking forward to that one, because it is supposed to be quite a quick 50k. You can actually get a decent kind of time on it. So
quick 50k. Beyond what you've signed up for, then, look, if you to zoom out and look ahead, do you have aims, goals in your running that you've not explored? Is there any big scary goals lurking in the background of your mind?
Not really, to be honest. I kind of just focusing on the 100k first kind of thing, and haven't really thought beyond that. I do want to do another Backyard Ultra, to be honest. I do fancy giving that another bash. But apart from that, There's no.
Right, consider my application in for crew duties, right? And
Yeah.
my hourly rate's not so bad, so I'll let you know. I'll let you know terms and conditions. Well, I mean, there's going to be a huge challenge in terms of getting around London, getting back, getting recovered in your goals, but I'm sure you're going to have a brilliant time. But there's no way you're getting away without doing the quickfire round. And shall I tell people, or do you want to tell them that you've been cheating?
I've not been cheating. Don't know what you're talking about.
Leanne's got a highlighter in her hand for anyone that can't see right now. I wonder why she's got a highlighter. So I don't know how to change all these questions for you. So you know the format because you have listened, which is really kind of you. But we've got quickfire questions that ask the guests before, and they're going to ask you for your playlist track as well. Okay. So just what comes to mind, what's on your highlighted list, you can read out to me. You probably laminated it. Are you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Right. Favourite running shoe of all time?
Brooks Adrenaline GTS.
I imagine you hadn't said Brooks there.
I know.
Favourite training route?
Oh, Benaghy, 100%.
Benaghy, which I was going to call Benaki. Best running related book or podcast you've listened to and or read?
I'm going to go with Claire Dunn's Living Imperfectly podcast.
Okay, I'll link to that. Proudest running moment?
Definitely finishing the first ultra. I remember finishing it and literally giving my mum a cuddle and being like, and literally saying to her, I actually did it.
Did you cry?
I did.
Proud of you, well done. You can't beat a weeping moment. Worst race or running experience?
It would definitely be the one after that. So when I did Speyside Ultra 5 weeks later.
Get your recovery in, folks. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Ultimate post-race refuel meal and drink?
Pizza and beer.
Let's hope Dan never listens to this.
I know.
Don't tell him. I don't think you can count that into your macros for the day. One inspirational Instagram profile you never skip by. I really feel for you with the size of the following that you have. But yeah, I just want one.
I did kind of hum and hay between this one. So I'm going to go with Meryl Cooper. So Meryl runs ultras.
What is it about that profile?
So Meryl is local and is just so lovely, but she's amazing on the ultra scene. So she's away to run for GB again in the World Championships kind of coming up. But she's quite happy. Like I've ran with Meryl quite a few times and she's quite happy plodding along and coming for a yap kind of thing. But it's just amazing.
Run with or without music?
Run, train with, race without.
That's a more common answer than I thought it would be. And do you know, I've actually started doing it myself. I can see why.
Yeah.
Favourite park run?
I don't really get to park run much because I've always got the girls on the Saturday morning. So I'm just going to go with my local one, Ellen, just 'cause it's the one that I would go to if I have the time kind of thing, if I get a chance.
Yeah. Until you force them to start running park run like me.
Yeah. To be fair, my eldest she's ran park run with me twice doing the 5K. And then she was saying the other day, because when we trialled Ellen Junior Park Run yesterday, she was like, Mum, when can I go to the big one again? I was like, right, well, get soon whenever it's a fine day. We'll make a point of going. It's
so cool when the habit starts to form and you can see them watching you. They're always watching. Finish this sentence. I press play and run because
it helps make me. It makes me a better mother, a better person, and a better wife.
It's never made me a better wife, but the rest I agree. Best single piece of running advice you could give or have been given?
Don't worry about the times, just go out and have fun.
I saw that in a few of your recent posts, you've managed to run with people that you've convinced to come out who were saying, I don't want to because I'll hold you up.
Yeah.
I want people to stop that. This happens with me a lot as well when you're trying to link up with people and they're like, oh no, I'll hold you back. And I'm saying pace. Like, don't assume that everybody's always out running 4 minutes a K.
Yeah.
80% of your running's at easy pace. It's just a plod. It's a blether. Stop doing that, people. Get out.
100%. Yeah.
Connect.
I managed to, finally had managed to persuade her. So she is running London on Sunday as well. So I worked with Ria at the hospital in Peterhead. And when she started running a couple of years ago, I was like, right, come on, I'll take you out. And she's like, no, you're too fast for me. I was like, I don't care. I was like, we'll get you out. And after I got my space for London, I think she was just finally coming round to the point. And I was like, right, we're going to go out for a run. So she was like, right, okay, I'll come with you. And it was really enjoyable. And I do enjoy seeing other people getting out and loving it as well, and having that chat about it. I mean, I can chat about running forever, kind of thing.
You're still getting the miles banked. You know, it's not like everything doesn't need to be at breakneck speed all the time.
And the thing is, like, people had kind of told her things, had given her kind of advice that had never run a marathon before, and she was saying, and I was like, no. It's like, no, don't do that. Like, no. Like, being able to share just a wee bit of advice with her. It was a good run. No,
I was good. I was glad to see that on your profile, but just people need to stop letting pace be a barrier to connecting in their running. No, like, nobody is out there blazing every run, and if they are, they're doing themselves more harm than good. So
100%.
Get out and connect, people. Right, that's it. Soapbox away. So you know that in every episode I ask the guest to pick a track for what's fast becoming the worst playlist on Spotify, because it's absolutely, Kaylee ruined it with that last song. It's horrific. So I'm not even going to try and be impartial about it. So I'm going to ask you for the one song that would not come out your exercise or running rotation.
So This Is What I Live For by Graffiti Ghosts. I think it actually trended for a while in the Reels section on Instagram. And see, whenever I heard it, I was like, oh, this is a tune that you could definitely put on whenever you are starting to struggle in a run. Yeah. And it just reasons with you that, you do love what you're doing. Just keep going, kind of thing.
Nice. At least it sounds vaguely running related, unlike some of the monstrosities that we have on there at the moment. My two boys are asking to pick a song for the playlist because they PB'd as well, so I might let them have a fight and see who wins. They can pick one, see what we do. Right, Leeanne, you have been, as I knew you would be, an absolute star. The nerves have disappeared as you've been chatting, which has been nice to see, but please keep doing what you're doing. Please keep getting your voice out there. Please keep inspiring, because I love following your content. I'm so delighted you agreed to come on, so thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for weighing me down, Ryan. It wasn't actually as bad as I thought it was going to be, I have to admit.
There you go. That's like my badge of honour. That's just like being friends with me. It's never as bad as you imagine. It's never great, but it's never as bad as you imagine it's going to be. You were worth wearing down, because I could see what's in there. Like it's all there. Get yourself out there. Stop having that imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I know. It happens to us all though, doesn't it?
But it happens more. I'm going to say it happens more to females than males, especially on Insta. Very quick to tell. Girls are too quick to tell themselves what they can't do, and the guys are like, I'll do it. I can do it. Fake it till you make it. Not everybody. It's a broad sweeping statement, but I see it a lot more. I saw it a lot more in school. I see it a lot more on the running community. You're rocking it, so own it, wear it. But I'll be following in London. Hopefully we can touch base. I'm planning a wee marathon recap episode, a wee bonus one with a lot of people that have been on, so maybe we can even get a wee 5-10 minutes catch up after London, hear about your first real marathon experience.
My first real marathon, I know.
What a first marathon to have. I'll be wishing you the best of luck. I'll be watching. Get that flat lay done and run your heart out.
I will, don't worry, I'm going to enjoy every minute of it.
As you should. All the very best, Leeanne, and again, thanks for your time. And I hope I hope this week passes without paranoia.
Let's hope so.
Thank you to you, the listeners, for joining us for another episode of the Press Play and Run podcast. You can really help to support the podcast by subscribing or following on your podcast platform of choice, and by leaving a review. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Press Play and Run Podcast, and to add the Press Play and Run playlist on Spotify. We'll be back every 2 weeks with new episodes, and please be sure to keep an eye on our Instagram page to find out which guests will be joining us. Until then, keep getting the trainers on, press play and run.